The ultrasound image glowed on Cassandra Mitchell's phone screen like a tiny beacon of hope in her cramped Chicago apartment. 8 weeks along, the technician's words still echoed in her mind, clinical and matter-of-fact, as if announcing something as mundane as the weather forecast rather than the complete upheaval of her entire existence. Cass sat on her second-hand couch, the springs protesting beneath her weight, and stared at the grainy black and white image, a bean-shaped cluster of cells that would become a person, her baby. The reality felt both impossibly distant and terrifyingly immediate. Ryan had been gone for 3 weeks. No calls, no texts, no explanation. Just vanished into thin air after nearly 10 months together, leaving behind a half-empty drawer in her bedroom and a void of unanswered questions. She had tried everything. Called his office, only to be told he no longer worked there. Visited his apartment to find it completely cleared out. Even contacted his friends, who claimed they hadn't heard from him either. And now this. A baby she never planned for with a man who was no longer there. Her fingers trembled as she opened her messaging app. She needed to tell someone, anyone, before the weight of this secret crushed her completely. Her best friend, Natalie Reeves, was traveling somewhere in Southeast Asia with spotty reception, but she deserved to know. Cass found their message thread and attached the ultrasound image. "Nat, I really need you right now," she typed, her vision blurring with unshed tears. "I'm pregnant. Ryan's gone. I don't know what to do. Please call when you can." Her thumb hovered over the send button for a long moment before she finally pressed it. The whoosh sound as the message departed carried a strange finality. There, someone else knew. It was real now. Cass set her phone down and dragged herself to the shower, letting hot water cascade over her until her skin turned pink and her racing thoughts grew foggy with steam. When she emerged 20 minutes later, wrapped in her threadbare towel, she heard her phone chime from the living room. That was impossibly fast. Maybe Natalie had better reception than expected. She padded across the cold floor, leaving damp footprints, and picked up her phone. The notification made her heart stop. It wasn't from Natalie. It was from a number she didn't recognize with the Chicago area code. But the preview showed 3 words that made no sense. "Is it mine?" Confused, she opened the message. Her breath caught in her throat as she realized her mistake. The ultrasound image she'd sent. But this wasn't Natalie's thread. Somehow, in her exhausted emotional state, she had sent the most intimate vulnerable message of her life to a complete stranger. Heat flooded her face as she quickly typed, "I'm so sorry. Wrong number. Please ignore this." The response came within seconds. "Who is this?" Cass hesitated, her heart pounding. Should she even respond? But something about the directness of the question made her feel she needed to provide closure to this awkward exchange. Just someone who made a mistake. "Sorry to bother you." The 3 dots appeared, indicating the stranger was typing. They disappeared, then reappeared several times, as if they were carefully considering their response. Finally, "What's your name?" A chill ran down her spine. Something about the demand felt invasive, possessive even. This wasn't normal curiosity. This felt dangerous. "I don't give my name to strangers. Again, I apologize for the confusion. Have a good night." She moved to block the number, but before she could, another message appeared. Her blood turned to ice as she read it. "You texted Ryan Blackwell's old number." The room tilted around her. Ryan's old number. That was impossible. She still had Ryan saved in her contacts. The number she'd been texting for 3 weeks with no response. Unless he had changed his number. Unless the messages she'd been sending had never reached him at all. With shaking hands, she typed, "How do you know Ryan?" The response took longer this time, each second stretching painfully as she watched the typing indicator appear and disappear. "We had business together. He owes me something valuable. The question is, how much do you know about what he took?" Cass's throat went dry. Business. The word carried sinister implications. Ryan worked in tech consulting, or so he'd claimed. They'd met at a coffee shop near the Loop. He'd been charming, well-dressed, generous. Perhaps too generous. The expensive dinners, the weekend trips to places she could never afford on her graphic designer's salary, the gifts that seemed excessive for a mid-level consultant. She'd never questioned it. never wanted to question it. Her life had finally been going well. What kind of business? She asked, though every instinct screamed at her to stop, to block this number, to pretend this conversation never happened, the kind people don't walk away from. Her legs gave out, and she sank to the floor, the towel still wrapped around her damp body. Ryan had been involved in something illegal. It was the only explanation that made sense. I don't know where he is, she typed truthfully. He disappeared 3 weeks ago. I haven't heard from him. The response was immediate. But you're carrying his child. It wasn't a question. The certainty in those words made her skin crawl. How could this stranger possibly know? I don't know you, she wrote back, fear sharpening her words. I'm not discussing my personal life with a stranger. Please don't contact me again. Before she could block the number, another message appeared. What she read made the blood drain from her face. You live at 847 West Fullerton Avenue, apartment 3C. You work at Meridian Design Studio on State Street. You leave your apartment at 7:30 every morning and stop at the corner cafe for a vanilla latte. You've been alone since Ryan left. You're scared, broke, and have no idea what you're going to do about that begging. Ice flooded her veins. They had been watching her. For how long? Days? Weeks? As if reading her thoughts, the next message came. I know everything about you, Cassandra Mitchell, and now I know about the baby too. Her name. They knew her name. She should call the police. That was the rational response. But something told her that whoever this was operated beyond the reach of ordinary law enforcement. What do you want from me? She managed to type, her fingers numb with terror. Information. Ryan stole encrypted data worth billions before he disappeared. I want it back. I don't have any data, Cass protested. I barely knew Ryan, it seems. Whatever he took, he didn't give it to me. The typing indicator appeared again, disappeared, then reappeared. She held her breath. Maybe you don't know you have it. Maybe he hid it with you. Either way, we need to talk in person. Terror seized her. Meet this person? This criminal who had been stalking her, who might be responsible for Ryan's disappearance. No, she typed firmly. I'm not meeting you. If you contact me again, I'll go to the police. Silence. 1 minute stretched into 5. Maybe her bluff had worked. Maybe they had given up. She finally gathered the strength to stand, to move toward her bedroom and put on clothes. But before she reached the door, she heard something that made her blood run cold. The distinctive sound of helicopter rotors, growing louder, closer, until they seemed to be right outside her building. Cass ran to the window and looked out. There, impossibly, a sleek black helicopter was descending toward the parking lot of her apartment complex, its spotlights cutting through the evening darkness. Her phone chimed one final time. My helicopter just landed. You have 2 minutes to come down, or I'll come up. Your choice, Cassandra. Her hands shook as she stared at the message. Then back at the helicopter, now settling on the pavement below, its rotors still spinning. Through her window, she could see figures emerging from the aircraft, moving with military precision toward her building entrance. This couldn't be happening. This was insane. But it was happening, and she had less than 2 minutes to decide what to do about it. Cassandra Mitchell descended the stairs of her apartment building with legs that felt like they might give out at any moment. She had thrown on jeans and a sweater, grabbed her phone and keys, and was now walking toward what might be the biggest mistake of her life. 2 men in dark suits waited at the entrance, their expressions professionally blank. The taller one stepped forward as she emerged into the cool evening air. Miss Mitchell, he said, his voice courteous but firm. Please come with us. Mr. Thorne is waiting. Thorne. So the stranger finally had a name. Cassandra's mind raced as they escorted her across the parking lot toward the helicopter. The rotors had slowed but were still spinning lazily, creating a wind that whipped her hair around her face. One of the men helped her into the aircraft, and she found herself sitting in plush leather seats that probably cost more than her entire monthly rent. The interior was spotless, luxurious, nothing like the military helicopters she'd seen in movies. This was wealth on a level she had never encountered. Within moments, they were airborne. Chicago spread out beneath them, a glittering grid of lights and movement that grew smaller as they climbed. Cassandra pressed her hand against the window, watching her life shrink away below her. The flight lasted perhaps 30 minutes, though time felt distorted by fear and adrenaline. They flew north along the lakefront, eventually descending toward what appeared to be a massive estate situated on a bluff overlooking Lake Michigan. Even in the darkness, she could see the sprawling grounds, the main house that looked more like a fortress, and the illuminated helipad where they touched down with barely a bump. The men escorted her along a stone pathway toward the house. The architecture was modern and imposing, all glass and steel and clean lines that spoke of money and power. As they approached the entrance, massive doors swung open, revealing an older woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair pulled into a tight bun. "Miss Mitchell," the woman said with a slight accent Cassandra couldn't place. "Please follow me. Mr. Thorne is expecting you." Cassandra had no choice but to follow. The interior of the house was breathtaking. Soaring ceilings, contemporary art that looked like it belonged in museums, floors of polished marble that reflected the subtle lighting. Everything was perfect, pristine, intimidating. They walked through corridors that seemed designed to disorient, finally arriving at a set of double doors. The woman knocked once, then opened them and gestured for Cassandra to enter. The room was clearly an office. Floor-to-ceiling windows dominated one wall, offering a spectacular view of the dark lake beyond. A massive desk sat before them, and behind that desk stood a man who commanded attention simply by existing. Dominic Thorne was perhaps 35, tall and lean with dark hair touched with silver at the temples. He wore an expensive charcoal suit that fit him perfectly, and his eyes were the color of storm clouds as they studied her with unsettling intensity. He didn't look like a criminal. He looked like a CEO, someone who belonged on the cover of business magazines, which somehow made him more dangerous. "Cassandra Mitchell," he said, his voice a smooth baritone. "Thank you for accepting my invitation." "Invitation?" she repeated, finding her voice. "You threatened me. You sent a helicopter to my home." "That's not an invitation, Mr. Thorne." A slight smile curved his lips. "Fair point. But you're here now, and we have important matters to discuss." He gestured to a chair facing his desk. "Please, sit." Cassandra remained standing, her hands clenched at her sides. "I want answers. What was Ryan involved in? What did he steal from you? And why am I here?" Dominic studied her for a long moment, then moved to a sideboard and poured amber liquid into a crystal glass. "Would you like something to drink? Water, perhaps, given your condition?" The casual reference to her pregnancy made her flush with anger. "I want answers, not beverages." "Very well." He took a sip of his drink, then set it down and leaned against his desk, his posture relaxed, but his eyes sharp. "Ryan Blackwell worked for me for 3 years. Not as a tech consultant, as he told you, but as a data analyst for my company's more sensitive operations." "Sensitive operations," Cassandra repeated. "You mean illegal?" "I mean private," Dominic corrected smoothly. "My company, Thorne Dynamics, deals in information security, corporate intelligence, and digital asset protection. We operate in gray areas, yes, but we serve legitimate clients who need protection from corporate espionage and data theft." "Then why did Ryan run?" she challenged. Dominic's expression hardened. "Because 3 weeks ago, he accessed our most secure server and downloaded encrypted data containing every detail of our operations. Client lists, security protocols, financial records, everything. Then he disappeared with it. That data is worth billions to our competitors, and he has it." Cassandra's mind reeled. Ryan had been a corporate spy? A thief working for this man's organization? Nothing about the man she thought she knew made sense anymore. "But why would he do that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Money, presumably," Dominic said. "Someone offered him enough to betray us. The question is, who, and what they plan to do with that information. And you think I know where he is," Cassandra said, understanding dawning. "That's why you brought me here." "Partially," Dominic admitted. "But there's more. Ryan didn't just steal from me. He sold preliminary information to the Volkov Syndicate, a rival organization based in Eastern Europe. They're not the type to forgive betrayal. If Ryan gave them incomplete data or tried to play both sides, they'll come after him. And they'll come after anyone connected to him. The implication hit her like a physical blow. You're saying I'm in danger. I'm saying you and your unborn child are targets, Dominic corrected, his voice softening slightly. The Volkov syndicate doesn't discriminate. They'll use you to get to Ryan, and they won't be gentle about it. Cassandra's hand moved instinctively to her stomach, a protective gesture she was still getting used to. Then let me go to the police. Let them protect me. Dominic shook his head. The police can't protect you from the Volkov syndicate. They operate internationally, with resources that dwarf most law enforcement agencies. But I can protect you. Here, on my estate. You're safe. My security is the best in the world. Safe? Cassandra laughed bitterly. I'm a prisoner. You're a guest under protection, Dominic said firmly. There's a difference. You'll have everything you need here. Comfortable accommodations, medical care for the baby, anything you want. All I ask in return is your cooperation in drawing Ryan out. You want to use me as bait, she said, her voice flat. I want to resolve this situation before more people die, Dominic replied. Ryan's theft has already triggered a war between organizations. People on both sides are looking for him, and they're not above collateral damage. Your best chance of survival is helping me find him first. Cassandra wanted to argue, to refuse, but the logic was inescapable. If what Dominic said was true, she couldn't go back to her normal life. The moment she walked out those doors, she'd be vulnerable. And she wasn't just thinking about herself anymore. She had a baby to protect. What happens when you find Ryan? She asked quietly. Dominic's expression became unreadable. That depends on him. If he returns the data and provides information about who he's working with, he might survive this. If he refuses, well, he made his choice when he betrayed us. The casual way he discussed murder made Cassandra's blood run cold. But she was trapped. Between Ryan's betrayal, the Volkov syndicate's threats, and Dominic's power, she had no good options. How long do I have to stay here? She asked, defeat washing over her. Until the situation is resolved, Dominic said. Days? Weeks? However long it takes. I've already arranged for a message to be sent to your employer. You've been granted emergency leave for family reasons. The casual control over her life should have enraged her, but Cassandra was too exhausted to feel anything beyond resignation. And if I try to leave, my security will stop you, Dominic said simply. For your own protection. But I hope it won't come to that, Cassandra. I'm not your enemy. Right now, I'm the only friend you have. The woman who had escorted her appeared at the door. Your room is ready, Miss Mitchell. Cassandra followed her out, leaving Dominic standing in his office, his expression thoughtful as he watched her go. She was led to a suite that was larger than her entire apartment, beautifully appointed, with every comfort imaginable. A prison, yes, but a gilded one. As she collapsed onto the massive bed, still fully dressed, Cassandra's hand drifted to her stomach. I'm sorry, she whispered to the tiny life growing inside her. I'm so sorry you're caught up in this. Somewhere out, Ryan was running for his life. And here she was, trapped in a stranger's mansion, her freedom traded for the illusion of safety. She didn't know which fate was worse. 5 days passed in Cassandra's gilded cage. 5 days of luxury and isolation, of gourmet meals she barely tasted and comfortable surroundings that felt increasingly suffocating. The estate was beautiful, yes, with its manicured gardens and stunning lake views. But beauty couldn't disguise the fact that she was a prisoner. Dominic Thorne was rarely present during those first days. Cassandra caught glimpses of him through windows, speaking intensely on phones or conferring with his security team. When their paths did cross at meals, he insisted she join him for. He was polite, even charming, asking about her well-being and the baby's development with what seemed like genuine concern. It was disorienting, this kindness from a man who held her captive. On the 6th morning, everything changed. Cassandra was in the library, a room that had become her refuge, when the silver-haired woman, whose name she'd learned was Katrina, appeared at the door. Miss Mitchell, Mr. Thorne needs to see you immediately. It's urgent. Something in Katrina's tone made Cassandra's heart race. She followed the older woman through the now familiar corridors to Dominic's office. He stood by the windows, his posture tense, staring out at the lake. A laptop sat open on his desk, and another man she hadn't seen before, younger, with sharp features, stood beside it. "Cassandra," Dominic said, without turning. "Ryan has made contact." Her breath caught. "What? How?" The younger man gestured to the laptop. "He sent an encrypted message through a secure channel we've been monitoring. It's addressed to you." Cassandra moved to the desk, her hands trembling as she read the message on the screen. "Cass, I know you must hate me. I know you're confused and scared. I'm sorry for everything. I never meant for you to get caught up in this. I heard you're pregnant. Is it true? Is the baby mine? I need to see you. I need to explain everything. There's a coffee shop on Monroe Street, public, safe. Tomorrow at noon. Please come. I can protect you better than Thorn can. Please trust me one more time." "Ryan, how does he know I'm here?" Cassandra asked, looking up at Dominic. "He doesn't necessarily," Dominic replied, finally turning to face her. "But he's smart enough to guess. Everyone in our world knows about me. Knows this is where I'd bring someone I needed to protect or control." His eyes met hers. "The question is whether he's genuinely reaching out or walking into our trap knowingly. It could be a setup," the younger man said. "His name was Felix, Dominic's head of security. He might be working with Volkov, using her to ambush you." "Ryan wouldn't do that," Cassandra protested, though her voice lacked conviction. A week ago, she would have said Ryan would never steal billions in data or disappear without explanation, either. "We don't know what Ryan would or wouldn't do anymore," Dominic said quietly. "People change when enough money is involved, or when they're desperate enough. What do you want me to do?" Cassandra asked, though she already knew the answer. "Meet him," Dominic said, "with proper security in place. You'll wear a tracking device and microphone. My team will be positioned throughout the area. If he's genuine, we'll see that. If it's a trap, we'll be ready." Cassandra looked back at the message, at Ryan's words that sounded so much like the man she thought she knew. What if he just wants to explain? What if he really can protect me? "Then you'll have a choice to make," Dominic said, his voice careful. "But you should know, Cassandra, that I received intelligence this morning. The Volkov Syndicate has a team in Chicago. They're actively searching for Ryan and for you. Even if Ryan's intentions are pure, he can't protect you from them. Not the way I can." The reality of her situation crashed over her again. She was a pawn in a game between dangerous men, her only value as leverage against Ryan. "I'll do it," she said finally. "I'll meet him. I deserve answers about why he left. Why he lied to me about everything." "Good," Dominic said. "We'll prepare you tomorrow morning. For now, get some rest. Tomorrow could be intense." That night, Cassandra lay awake in her luxurious bed, her mind racing. Tomorrow, she would see Ryan again, the father of her child, the man who had turned her entire life upside down. Would he have answers that made sense? Could she trust anything he said? And beneath it all, a more unsettling question. Why did the thought of leaving Dominic's protection fill her with an anxiety that had nothing to do with the Volkov Syndicate? The next morning arrived too quickly. Katrina helped her dress in simple, elegant clothes, chosen to conceal the tracking device Felix attached to her bra. The microphone was embedded in a pendant necklace, diamond-studded and beautiful. A piece of jewelry that doubled as surveillance equipment. "Remember," Dominic said as they prepared to leave, his hands settling on her shoulders with surprising gentleness. "You're not alone. I'll be listening to every word. If anything feels wrong, if you're in any danger, my team will extract you within seconds." "Why are you doing this?" Cassandra asked suddenly. "Really? It's not just about the data Ryan stole. You could hire 100 people to track him down. Why keep me here? Why protect me personally?" Something flickered in Dominic's eyes, an emotion she couldn't quite read. "Because, despite what you think of me, I have principles. Women and children don't become casualties in my world. Not if I can prevent it. Your world put me in danger in the first place," she pointed out. "Ryan put you in danger," Dominic corrected. "I'm trying to get you out of it." The drive into Chicago was tense. Cassandra sat in the back of an armored SUV, Felix at the wheel and Dominic beside her, both scanning the streets for threats. The coffee shop was in a busy area, surrounded by other businesses and foot traffic. Smart choice for a meeting, public enough to discourage violence. "I'll be in the shop across the street," Dominic said as they pulled up. "Two other teams are positioned at either end of the block. You'll be safe, Cassandra." "I promise," she nodded, her mouth too dry to speak. As she stepped out of the SUV, the autumn air felt sharp against her face, bringing her fully into the moment. This was happening. In minutes, she'd see Ryan again. The coffee shop was warm and crowded, the air rich with the scent of roasted beans and vanilla. Cassandra ordered herbal tea with hands that trembled slightly, then found a table by the window as instructed. The tracking device felt heavy against her skin, a constant reminder that this conversation wouldn't be private. Noon came and went. Cassandra's anxiety mounted with each passing minute. Had he changed his mind? Seen Dominic's security and fled? At 12:15, Ryan walked through the door. He looked different. Thinner, more worn, his usually immaculate appearance replaced by casual clothes and a baseball cap pulled low. But it was him. Their eyes met across the crowded shop, and for a moment, everything else fell away. Ryan slid into the chair across from her, removing his sunglasses but keeping the cap on. "Cass," he breathed, reaching for her hands across the table. "God, I've been so worried." She pulled her hands back instinctively, the gesture seeming to wound him. "Worried? You disappeared, Ryan. No explanation, no contact." "No, I know," he said, his voice thick with what sounded like genuine regret. "I know, and I'm sorry. I never wanted any of this to touch you. Is it true?" she demanded. "The baby. Are you really pregnant?" "Yes," she whispered. 8 weeks. "It's yours, Ryan. You're going to be a father." Emotion flooded his face, a mixture of joy and terror and something else she couldn't identify. "I never knew. If I had known, I would have." He stopped, running his hand through his hair. "Everything would have been different." "Then tell me." Cassandra leaned forward. "Tell me why you left. Why you stole from Dominic Thorne. Why everything we had was a lie." "It wasn't all a lie," Ryan insisted. "My feelings for you, those were real, are real. I love you, Cass. You have to believe that." "Then why?" Ryan glanced around nervously, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "Because I found out what Thorne really is. The company, Thorne Dynamics. It's not just corporate intelligence. It's a front for weapons dealing, for selling military-grade malware to authoritarian governments. The data I took proves it. Proves that Dominic Thorne has blood on his hands from conflicts in 3 different countries." Cassandra felt her world tilt. "You're saying you stole the data to expose him?" "I was going to take it to the authorities," Ryan said. "But then I realized how deep this goes. Law enforcement, government officials, they're all connected to him. So I made a deal with Volkov instead. He promised protection in exchange for the information." "The Volkov syndicate?" Cassandra's voice rose slightly. "Ryan, they're criminals too. Dominic warned me about them." "Of course he did," Ryan said bitterly. "He wants you to fear them, so you'll stay under his control. But Volkov isn't the monster Thorne painted. He's a businessman who wants to take down a corrupt system through the pendant microphone." Cassandra knew Dominic was hearing every word. Was this the truth? Or was Ryan lying again, reframing his theft as heroism? "If that's true," she said carefully, "why are you here? Why risk meeting me?" Ryan's expression softened. "Because I love you. Because you're carrying my child. And because I want you to come with me. Volkov has arranged everything, new identities, a place in Europe where we'll be safe. We can start over, raise our baby far from all this." It sounded perfect. Idyllic even. And that's what made her doubt it. "What about the data?" she asked. "Did you give it to Volkov?" Something flickered across Ryan's face. Hesitation. "Not all of it. I kept a copy as insurance. Volkov doesn't know. So he was playing both sides. Trying to profit from whoever won this war he'd started." Before Cassandra could respond, Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face went pale. "We need to leave," he said urgently, standing. "Right now." "What? Why?" Because Volkov's people just spotted Thorne's security. They think it's an ambush. They're coming. As if his words had summoned them, the coffee shop's front window exploded inward in a shower of glass. People screamed, diving for cover. Cassandra felt Ryan grab her arm, pulling her toward the back of the shop. Then Dominic was there, appearing from nowhere, his hand on her other arm. "Cass, come with me." Now, she stood frozen between them, between Ryan's desperate plea and Dominic's commanding presence. Outside, she could hear shouting, the sound of car doors slamming. "Choose, Cassandra," Dominic said, his voice urgent but calm. "Ryan's running. He'll always be running. The Volkov syndicate, me, someone else after them. That's the life he's offering you and your child. Or you can trust me to end this, to make you truly safe." "I can protect her," Ryan insisted. "I love her. She's having my baby." "You love yourself," Dominic shot back. "If you loved her, you would never have put her in this position." More glass shattered. Someone was shooting. Felix appeared at Dominic's side, weapon drawn. "Sir, we need to move. Now." Cassandra looked at Ryan, at the fear in his eyes, at the desperation. Then she looked at Dominic, at the steady confidence, the protective stance that had nothing to do with romance and everything to do with genuine capability. Her hand moved to her stomach, to the tiny life that depended on her making the right choice. "I'm sorry, Ryan," she whispered. Then, more firmly, "I'm staying with Dominic." Pain flashed across Ryan's face, followed quickly by anger. "You're making a mistake. He's using you," Cassandra said. "But at least he's honest about it." Dominic's security moved in, securing Ryan before he could flee. As they escorted him out the back exit, Dominic turned to Cassandra, his expression unreadable. "You made the right choice," he said quietly. "Did I?" she asked, watching as the man she'd thought she loved was taken away in restraints. "Because right now, not sure there was a right choice. Just less wrong ones." Dominic's hand found hers, warm and steady. "Then we'll make it right. Together. I promise you, Cassandra, you and your baby will be safe. Whatever it takes." As they left the chaos of the coffee shop behind, Cassandra realized her old life was truly over. She didn't know what the future held, didn't know if Dominic's promises were genuine or just another form of control. But she did know one thing with absolute certainty. She had chosen survival, for herself and for her child. Everything else would have to come second.